Hey friends, I'm Jonathan Smith, and this is Jump In with Jonathan, the podcast that makes you think, smile, and take action. Are you ready to jump in this show with me? Let's go. Hello everyone, welcome back to Jump In with Jonathan. I'm glad you're here today because we're talking about a subject that touches far more people than many realize. I'm going to talk about a subject that some people are ashamed to discuss. I want to talk about a subject that some people are afraid to discuss. And when I'm talking about afraid to discuss, they're not afraid to discuss it on a podcast, but they're afraid to talk about it on a personal level. The subject that I want to talk about today is the subject of depression. Depression isn't a feeling of just being sad for a day or two, but it's a heavy weight that can linger, affecting how you think, how you feel, how you interact, and how you function. And if you've ever dealt with it or know someone who has dealt with depression, either they're dealing with it now or they've dealt with it in the past, you can understand how difficult and how overwhelming this can be. But here's the good news: depression doesn't have to be the end of the story. Unfortunately, for so many different people, it is the end of the story. And I hate that it is the end of the story. And if you are listening to the podcast today and you think that depression is the end of your story, number one, let me tell you it's not. Number two, let me tell you to seek professional help. Number three, if you absolutely need to, call the suicide hotline. It would be very important for you to do so. There are ways forward. There are steps that can help you lighten the load. And there is hope for a better tomorrow. That's what today's episode is all about. Understanding depression, breaking the stigma of depression, and discovering practical ways to overcome it. So, first of all, let's get it clear: what is depression? Depression is far beyond a bad mood or a rough week. I've heard some people say, well, I'm just having a rough week. But the problem with that is they've had a rough week for the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 14 weeks. And they don't understand it or not, but it is a state of sadness that is persistent, or emptiness, that can last for weeks, months, and if it goes untreated, yes, it can last for several years. People describe it as a feeling like a fog that just won't lift, or a heaviness that makes simple tasks even feel exhausting. It affects more than emotions. It can interfere with sleep. Sometimes you can't get enough sleep. Other times you can't sleep at all. Your appetite can change. You may lose interest in eating. You may want to eat more. Concentration gets harder. Things that used to bring joy and happiness now is boring and flat. And often this overwhelming sense of hopelessness will give you a feel that things at some point will never get better. And here's something important: depression is not just in your head, it is connected to your brain chemistry, your stress levels, your genetics, even your physical health conditions. That's why you can't just snap out of depression. Some people say, well, you just going through depression, you just need to get over yourself. You can't do that if you're truly depressed. Imagine telling someone with a broken leg, oh, just walk it off. It'll get better. No, it doesn't. It takes time to heal. It takes time to, and it takes doctors, and it takes medication, and it takes medical procedures to get a broken leg better. And just as it takes those medical procedures to get a broken leg better, it may take some medical intervention to help you get better. Depression is one of the most common mental health challenges worldwide. Millions of people deal with depression every year. And the more we understand it, the better equipped we are to support ourselves and others as they go through depression. You say, well, that's dark. Is there a way to break this stigma? Absolutely, there is. One of the hardest things about depression isn't just the symptoms, it's the stigma attached to it. See, we live in a world where people often celebrate strength and success, but they don't always know how to respond to struggle. Maybe we've heard someone say to us, just cheer up. You've got nothing to be sad about. How do they know? They don't know what's going on in your personal life. But those comments, while they're often well intentioned, can make someone feel even more isolated. One thing that I have learned when dealing with certain people going through depression is learning to listen to them, listen for key words as they begin to talk about depression, how they feel, how they want to interact, how they think that they can, how that they are dealing with their sense of depression. I will ask them, have you been to a therapist? Have you talked to a close friend about it? Are you on medication for it? And I try to dig in, not to hurt them, but to help them. But I do my best to never say, just snap out of it, or just cheer up, or you've got nothing to be sad about, it, or I'll be okay. No, we cannot give anyone a sense of false hope. See, the truth is, depression doesn't discriminate. It affects people, notice this, not of some backgrounds, but of all backgrounds. Young, middle age, elderly, wealthy, middle class, poor, introverts, extroverts, and admitting you're struggling with depression does not make you weak. If you come to me and say, hey, I'm struggling with depression, I need some help, I will not think that you are a weak person, but I will think you're an humble person. And I will appreciate the trust that you have taken to tell me that you are struggling with this terrible thing going on in your life. In fact, it takes incredible courage to say, I'm not okay and I need help. Breaking the stigma starts with conversations like this, normalizing the fact that mental health is health. Just like we care for our bodies, we have to care for our minds. If you had the flu, you wouldn't be ashamed to see the doctor. The same way with having depression. You shouldn't be ashamed to go to the doctor and being honest with him and say, listen, I'm battling with depression. How can I overcome it? Well, now you're going to ask me, now that I've broke the stigma, how can I heal? Well, let's talk about what we actually can do if struggling with depression or if you want to support someone who is. As I've already mentioned, find professional support. Therapy and counseling can be life changing. Sometimes just having someone to talk to, someone trained to help untangle our thoughts and provide tools for coping, makes a huge difference. For some, medication helps because it helps balance the brain chemistry that depression disrupts. There's no shame in needing that kind of help. It's like wearing glasses if your vision is blurry. You're not ashamed to wear glasses. You're not ashamed to wear contacts. You're not ashamed to walk into the eye doctor. Do not be ashamed to go to your medical doctor to get the help that you need. Do not be ashamed to pick up a phone and say, I need to schedule an appointment for a therapist. I'm battling this thing called depression. I'm feeling like I'm getting depressed. Let me find someone who can help me so that it doesn't get worse and worse and worse. See, what a lot of us do is we ignore the signs, we ignore the symptoms, and we ignore everything going on with depression. And then we get so deep down in a hole that when we do ask for help, it takes longer to recover. When you feel the flu coming on, you go to the doctor immediately and get the help that you need. Do the same thing with depression. Change the way that you live your life. Make a shift in your lifestyle. Our bodies and minds are deeply connected. One of the ways that you can help this is by exercising. Light movement, like walking 20 minutes a day, can boost endorphins and serotonin, the brain chemicals that improve the mood. Get good sleep. Sleep when you need it. Aim for a consistent routine of going to bed and waking up at the same time to regulate your body's rhythm. Nutrition, foods rich in omega 3s, whole grains, fruits, vegetables support brain health. It's not about dieting, but it's about fueling your body and your mind. Daily practices. Sometimes small habits can create big shifts over time. One of the things that I like to do is I keep a journal. Write out your feelings. Don't write them with judgment, but just write them out exactly how you feel. Putting emotions in the words can help release some of the pressure. Mindfulness. Practices like meditation, breathing exercising, or simply pausing to notice your surroundings can quiet the mental noise. The other day, my wife and I went for some photos for pregnancy photos, and we was walking around this park, and I just stopped for a few minutes while she was doing a photo shoot, and I was just walking around and I was just looking at the nature, and I got focused on some turtles, and I just zoned out on them turtles, and it cleared my mind. And when I snapped back into where I was at, I was like, wow, I feel so much better just going to sit in a park. Leave your phone in the car, or leave unless you have a something medical, or put your phone on do not disturb. Um, just sit on a park bench, clear your mind, look at the nature. Don't look at other people. Don't listen to other things going on around you. Just look at nature and listen and zone in on the peacefulness of the earth. Setting small goals. Depression makes everything feel overwhelming. Break tasks into smallest steps as possible. Celebrate tiny victories, even like making your bed or even stepping outside for fresh air. Find a good support system because isolation makes depression worse. Reach out to a trusted friend, family, or support groups that remind you you're not alone. Sometimes just saying I'm having a tough day can open the door to comfort and connection. And if you're supporting someone with depression, sometimes the best thing you can do is simply listen without trying to fix anything. I have someone that came to me the other day, and they was telling me about everything going on in their life, and they just unloaded on me. I didn't say anything back. I just sit there and listen. Today I ran into that same person. I looked at them and I said, hey, they look like they were doing better. I said, hey, how's life going? And they said, you know what? Life is starting to turn around. I did this and I've done this and I've done that and I've changed this and I've changed that. Thank you for asking. Oh, and by the way, thank you for listening the other day. That meant more to me than anything. And they said, you know what I liked about what you did? You didn't try to fix me. You didn't try to give me any advice. You just listened. So moving on, let's think about today as we move into the last few moments of the podcast. I want to give you some stories of encouragement. I read a story this past week about the actor Dwayne Johnson, better known as The Rock. He has openly spoken from time to time about his struggles with depression. At the height of his career, when everyone assumed he was unstoppable, he admitted that he felt deeply hopeless. What helped him was talking to others, admitting the struggle, focusing on small steps forward. Today, he uses his platform to encourage others to speak up. When I read stories like this, it reminds me that depression doesn't define a person. You are more than your darkest moment. Progress at times may be slow, but every step forward, no matter how big, no matter how small, is a step toward victory. So, as we wrap up today's episode, here are the key takeaways that I want you to take into account. Number one, depression is real, and it's way more than just being sad. There is no shame in struggling with depression or seeking help for depression. Professional supports, lifestyle changes, daily practices, and leaning on others can lead to healing over time. If you're listening to the podcast today and you're in a dark place, I want you to know that you're not alone. I've been depressed. There are days that I have walked off of a job, I have went in my tool trailer, I have shut my doors, and I have cried my eyes out. There are times that I've been to the doctor and I've told the doctor, I'm depressed, I need some help. I've been on medication for depression. So you're not alone. Depression is tough, but it is treatable. And things can and will get better over time. And if you or someone you love is struggling with suicidal thoughts, please reach out for immediate help. In the US, you can call 988. Again, that number is 988 to connect with the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. There are people ready to listen and ready to help. Thank you so much for joining me today. If this episode encouraged you, share it with someone else who may need it. And remember, depression doesn't define you. With the right support and small steps forward, brighter days are ahead. Until we jump in again, have a blessed day. Thank you for listening to today's episode on Jump In with Jonathan, and keep in mind that life is better when you jump in. Have a blessed day.